What's good, everybody? My name is Landmark. Welcome to the channel, and I have a question for all the Maschine users out there. Have you tried Clips yet? The new clip feature in the updated Maschine software. If you haven't, that is my goal today, is to walk you through my personal process and how I use clips in my production. I've had the beta for a while and I haven't had any instructions on how to use it. I kind of just figured it out on my own. I may use it in ways that other people may not, and vice versa. So I just want to show you guys how I have used clips to create an entire song, start to finish, inside of Maschine without having to export into Pro Tools in order to do it, and without all these little funny little tricks that you have to do inside a Maschine in order to do transitions and things like that. So I'm going to walk you through that process. So that's what we're going to do today. Before we start, I just want to give a shout out to OPS Music. He followed me on Instagram, and so I just clicked on his username to see who he was and what he was about, and I saw he had a store and he had some merch in there and had this Maschine drip tee, and he's got a lot of other different shirts with music equipment on it, so I just thought it was dope. So I just want to give him a quick shout out. Thanks OPS for this gear. So I'm gonna leave his handle in the description below. You can go check him out on IG. Check out his store, get some cool merch. Without further ado, y'all know what it is. Let's go. Now, before we really dig into this, I want you guys to make sure that you have a basic idea of what patterns and scenes are, what ideas mode is, because that's going to make sense when I explain what clips does and how it layers on tops of patterns and scenes and things like that. If you don't know, or if you need a little brush up on what that stuff is, I did a video last year kind of explaining how I created songs fully in Maschine without having to export to Pro Tools or Ableton or anything like that. And there's some things that I did in the video, some little tips and tricks to get around some of the things that Clips actually fixes. So check that out first if you need a little bit deeper dive into scenes and patterns and ideas mode, because those are like the basics, the bottom building blocks of what you need to know before you get into Clips, and it'll make more sense once you have an idea of what that stuff does. So right here, I have a track that I pulled up called On Fire. This is actually on my EP, which comes out on Friday, and some of you may see this later on. There's a link down in the description below for this track on Spotify for an album called Hooked. Check it out, you know what I'm saying? Give your boy a little play, you know what I'm saying? Try and get those streaming pennies on Spotify, you feel me? But I originally performed this song on Instagram live, and I was using the jam to kind of trigger patterns on and off, and then like I played a little solo at the end, and so I kind of transitioned that into a full song. But I couldn't do it before. I mean, I could, but it was super difficult until Clips came out, and I'm like, oh, I can kind of remake this and use Clips to create this full song without having to export into Pro Tools, and because I would have had to remake it in Pro Tools, and I didn't feel like doing all that. So this helped me change the project in order to complete this song. So let me just play a little bit for you.
My heart's heating up, this love is on fire.
So yeah, that's a little bit of that track called On Fire. Check it out on your favorite streaming platform, available now or on Friday, depending on when you're watching this. So let's break this down. Now, when I create, what I normally do is I go into ideas mode. And I use the Maschine jam, which if you don't have a jam, it's fine. It's the same layout here as it is on the screen. Basically, I create different types of patterns within, oh man, I think I messed it up. I'm gonna mess this whole project up, but I'm not gonna say anything. But anyways, you say I load all my drums up, right? And as you build the song, you kind of reach a point where you have multiple loops. And then you slowly start taking stuff away, and start arranging the track, from start to finish. And so that's what scenes are for. In scene 1, you have, this drum pattern or no drum pattern or whatever, and you move to scene 2, scene 3, and you keep switching the different patterns that you've created as you go along through the song. And that's how I build it. I build my song by scenes so that when I go to the arranger, I just lay them all out how I built them in the scenes, right? So that's how I would normally do it. And then what happens is, if I wanted, say I have these drums here, right? And I want the drums, if I, like this section here, you see that some of the drums cut out, these hi-hats cut out here. Normally what I would do is I would create a pattern that would take away certain elements as the song went along. And then I would have 50 patterns, not 50, but I'm exaggerating, but like here, like in this one, I have 6 different patterns that I created in order to build the song, because certain parts cut in and out and stuff like that. And that's how I normally would build it. But what Clips ended up doing is, like, I could arrange a whole song and have all of these patterns laid out together, right? For instance, on pattern 6. So I have these 4 instruments playing different things at the same time. And then I would just, create different patterns, taking things away, adding things and stuff like that. And that's how I ended up with 6 of these different patterns. But what Clips helps alleviate is I could have just one pattern like this laid out on the screen. And what you do is you go into that pattern. Let's see. It's here in 6, right? Say I'm starting to lay my song out. I can have pattern 6 across the entire arranger. And then I can right click this and hit convert to clip. And what it will do is it will allow you to then make changes to this pattern without actually changing the pattern, right? So it converts it to a clip, and I can, go in here, delete this, and then what I could do in the next scene is put another pattern, the same pattern right there. And then, maybe I just want to delete this part, and arrange the song without having to create multiple patterns and get lost in the sauce. So that's something that Clips helps to do, is like if you have multiple patterns, or if you have a lot of instruments loaded into one group, you can then, instead of creating, 25 different patterns, you can just create different clips as you go along in the arranger, delete stuff, turn stuff off, on, whatever, without having to adjust each and every pattern. And that's how I would normally build transitions. So for instance, down here, I would have to create, actually, let's do it here in the drums, right? So normally I would create an entire pattern and place it in scene 4, and then only have certain instruments playing for that as the transition builds into this scene right here. So instead of creating an entire pattern, I just created a clip and put the snare as it leads into the drums beginning. So I'll play it for you. So that's the first thing that I discovered with Clips is how to convert a pattern into a clip, so I wouldn't have to create multiple patterns as I'm building the song out. If you watch that other video that I showcased how to build a track in Maschine using Maschine only before Clips came out, I would have so many different patterns all in the arranger, and sometimes I would get lost because I don't name things, because I just, sometimes I don't take the time to name my patterns or my scenes as like hook, verse, whatever. I should, but I don't. So some things kind of get lost as I create more and more patterns. But what I could do is just lay everything out on the timeline and then create multiple clips, taking stuff away or adding as I'm going along. Another problem that I had was if I wanted to do a solo, which is something I did here. When you create a solo, say I just wanted a drum loop, playing over and over again as I soloed on top of something. I'm just going to record. I don't know how long this solo is going to last. I just want to play. What would happen is that you would create an instance like this, what happens here in scene 11, right? So you would have a pattern that was long, for instance, this one's 8 bars, but my drum pattern is only 4 bars. It would make the scene length super long, but say I wanted the drums to switch up as I'm going through the solo. You couldn't do that before. You would have to just basically make a pattern as long as your solo clip was and take stuff out, add as you go along in that super long pattern. So what clips help to do is allows you to stretch a pattern over multiple scenes, which is kind of what I did here. And it's broken up into 2 clips because I'm not the greatest piano player or whatever, but I soloed this, and then like I added some stuff here and there, but it allowed me to create this really long solo over top of scenes without having to, make the patterns match the same length. It's a little confusing. And when you're looking at it on the timeline, like all of my clips are selected here, but I can't select a pattern. I don't know why. Whoops. Let's not do that. I don't know why I can't select the pattern like straight in the arranger, but I have to basically switch the mode from clip to pattern by clicking on the scene. Now I can click the pattern. So like clips kind of sit on top of the patterns underneath, I guess. That's kind of what it feels like. And then you can click on a clip and go directly to that. But if I wanted to go back to a pattern and make a change to it, I'd have to click on scene and then click on the pattern so you can see what's going on underneath. So that can be a little confusing. I don't know if I'm actually doing this the right way, but it's the way that I'm doing it on how I get around some of this stuff. So let me open another project that's on my new EP called Hooked, out now on all streaming services, linked down in the description below. Okay, so I pulled up another project. This one is also on the EP. It's called Love Language. I had it named something before, but I changed it to Love Language because the the vocal sample is inaudible, and you're trying to figure out what they're saying the whole time, but they're actually not saying anything. And that's kind of like what it feels like when you're in love. You don't really know what to say. You're just gibberish, whatever. But anyways, that's the premise of the song, and that's kind of like the feel. But I created this without having to use clips because it was one of those that I made before I really understood what clips did. So you'll see under my ideas grouping, there's, oh my gosh, look at all these patterns. So, it's really easy to get lost in, what patterns go where as you're creating the song. And this is kind of the example that I use. Like if I go back, if I made this in one day, I may remember what all this is, but 2 weeks later, I don't know what pattern is what. I don't know what arrangement I did, which is the problem that I had with the last song. I actually had to go back to Instagram and like zoom in on what patterns I hit on the Maschine Jam in order to get the arrangement right, because I had no idea you know, what patterns went where because I hadn't labeled them because I'm an idiot. But that's beside the point. What I'm trying to say is that this is a problem right here. When you're creating so many patterns and you're not taking the time to label them, this is partly my own fault. And then when you go to arrange everything, like you have so many different patterns here, you don't know what's what. And that's a good thing about creating clips is that you can just have a few patterns that have all of your instruments. That's a bad example. For instance, like this one, where I have, you know, I have 4 instruments on this timeline. And as I lay them out in the arranger, I can just literally convert everything to a clip and then pull stuff out as I want, you know, as I go to arrange the song, you know. And then you still have that pattern underneath if you mess something up. Say I'm like, I want to delete that, then I hear it and I'm like, oh, undo, shift undo or whatever. I can just delete that. The pattern is underneath and it's all good. So that's a cool thing about creating clips is that, you know, even if you mess up creating a clip and take something away or not, you know, the pattern is still there. It's actually still assigned to the scene. So that was scene 6. It's still there. It's just that you convert something to a clip and, you know, now you can have a little bit more control over what happens in the song. And if you mess up, like I go back to scene 6 and the pattern is still assigned. So that was kind of like my workaround whenever I was creating multiple patterns is like, oh, if I mess up, you know, the pattern is still there for me to start over. And let me play this joint for y'all. It's my favorite part right here. This little build up. So you kind of saw, like, especially in the drums here, like how all of my patterns of drums, like I just wanted the kick and the crash here. This pattern is different than this pattern, you know, and this is a build, you know, this is like I dropped the drums out, you know, and I created all these patterns as I was making scenes. So I did that in ideas mode as I built the scenes. I'm like, oh yeah, I want this to happen. So I would like copy paste this pattern and then take some stuff away. So now I have another pattern. So that's how I ended up with, I don't know how many this is, 11 patterns, you know. But instead what I could do now is have a pattern of all my drums. Like if I have a loop that I like, I can convert this to a clip and then make changes here, then move on to the next scene, you know, that maybe I like that, move on to this one, create another clip, and then like, I don't know, delete that, you know. So it helps with arrangement of a song. It helps you not get lost, which is the problem that I had before when I was trying to create only in Maschine. It's not that like I was trying to prove a point that you can, you have to, or it's not possible, to create a song completely in Maschine, or you have to export to a DAW in order to do that. It's just like I'm comfortable in this environment and I know it so well. I would just like to stay here. It just would save time, than having to export and then import and then whatever other issues I have between Pro Tools and Maschine, because Pro Tools hates Maschine. They don't, but stuff just doesn't work as well as it does strictly in Maschine. So I like to stay here. So this helps with the process and helps make it easier as I'm building a song from start to finish. All right, so let's take a look at one more. This song is called Feels. Again, like I had to name something else and I was coming up with a theme for the album. Actually, I found a vocal chop that I really liked, and that's actually what made me name the song this. But let's play it real quick. So that's all I'll play with for this one. But you can tell I made this after the update came out, and look how many patterns I have. That's it. Like, it saved me so much time. I don't need these. Let me get rid of these. It saved me so much time in creating a song because I didn't have to like build so many transitions into the patterns. Any of the changes that I wanted to make outside of the patterns that I made, I just converted into clips, took stuff out that I wanted to take out, and that was it. And you can see, like, when I wanted to add, I just want to add a piano here. Instead of creating a pattern and putting it inside of a scene, I just created a clip, pushed play, and then played that clip live on the timeline. And then that's what came out. Let me see if I can, let me try and do that here. Let's do it here. Let me see if I can show you. I don't know what I was playing. I was just hitting keys. But basically, like, yeah, I just hit record, arm record on the Maschine, and then played my notes here and just created this clip. So, I mean, literally you can just be listening to the song, hit record as it's going through the entire timeline, and next thing you know, like, you have a clip of whatever. So that's how you can like build little sections throughout the while you're arranging the song. So it just makes it so much easier when creating. So all I did was create a small little pattern, had a couple groups, made a couple little patterns here, and I was like, all right, I'm ready to arrange, and then converted to clips, whatever I needed. So that's my experience with using clips so far throughout the update. Like I said, I haven't watched any video on how they use clips or how Native Instruments uses clips. I just kind of got the beta and started messing around with it, and this is the way that I found for me to use clips and create songs start to finish inside of Maschine. So it still does this thing at the end where it leaves like, a 5 to 10 second tail of silence. after the end of the song as you're exporting. So I have to use Audacity to cut that off, but other than that, like it makes it the process for building all inside a Maschine a lot easier. I'm a big fan of that. So I hope it wasn't too confusing. It probably was, because I was super confused and I'm not the greatest at explaining things, but I hope you understand what I was talking about with patterns and scenes, and you know how you can get lost and creating all these patterns in order to just arrange a song, and how clips makes it much easier for arrangement and to solo and add stuff on top of it. So this song is also on my EP Hooked, which is out now on all streaming platforms. I mean, depending on when you see this, but if you want to really support your boy, it's on Bandcamp. And on Bandcamp, this is a 4-song EP, and on Bandcamp there's a bonus track that you won't be able to get anywhere else. It's specifically for Bandcamp. Album's $5 if you want to, you know, support your boy. You know what I'm saying? Give me a little, you know what I'm saying? Since Spotify only gives me this, you know, maybe you can give me, you know what I'm saying? You know, you feel me? You know, support your boy. Anyways, I appreciate your time. Leave comments in the description below. I'll try to answer some. I'll monitor the comment section, and maybe if there's other people out there that have experience with clips, you know, chime in. Let's get some discussion going on what you guys think about clips. If you use it, if not, if what was confusing about what I said or not, whatever. But if you made it through this whole thing and still don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch that video that I talked about in the beginning as far as creating a song from scratch within Maschine. Patterns, scenes, ideas mode, all essential basic building blocks to get started with creating songs within Maschine, start to finish. So leave a like, thumbs up, comment your questions down below. Appreciate you guys watching, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Go get my album. Peace.